Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Arwin and Sleeping Warrior. How are you both doing, gentlemen?
Arwin stepped away for a minute. I think he's going to get in a brew or something, so he said he'd be straight back. But I'm good, and I'm hoping we'll have a nice, clean, tidy show today. As the last couple have been away, and well, Arwin and Nummy don't seem to be the best of friends for whatever reason.
I like the conversations. I know you interjected yesterday in the Skype and like, you two pack it in. And I thought, well, no, I actually do check in on their conversations and see the progress. I try and keep my nose out because I don't want it bitten off. But by the same token, you know, I do know where you're coming from, and I almost did the same thing in the Masturbators chat. But let's move on to more exciting things, like the outstanding business we have from the Globeheads who attend this show infrequently at the moment.
Sure. Is the link public yet?
Actually, no.
Right. Do I need to open up the back door?
Yeah, I was literally about to do it. Well, that was my segue into doing exactly that while you talked. But yeah, if you could.
Well, if I know that it's happening, then I need to take relevant precautions because there are some nasty people out there who all they want to do is just cause problems. And I don't like them people that cause problems. I'd rather try and control it where necessary. And obviously, if it was going public, it would feel to know. Now that I know it, we can take relevant precautions and try and control this stupid nonsense. But anyway,
it's been all right the last couple of days, actually.
It might be because I wasn't on. Maybe.
Maybe. Correlation is not causation.
Oh, I don't know. Depends. There's an argument in there somewhere for that.
Maybe, but I don't think so. Just some days it's good, some days it's bad. Every day is the same as far as I'm concerned.
So did you
yes, outstanding business. So who have we got? Let's tick them off. I'll start. Charles, need proof of R. There you go. That's got the ball rolling.
Paul Voigt. He hasn't been on the show for 3 months now. And he won't come back on the show, in my opinion, because he knows that he's got no evidence to support the claim that the Earth's got a molten iron core. And he claimed that the iron core self-perpetuates its own magnetic field caused by the electric current that's created by the inertia caused by the rotation of the Earth. And I asked him to produce evidence of that opinion or of that view or belief. And since then, he's never been back on. So that's still outstanding, and I haven't forgotten about it, and I'm going to keep coming back to it over time. And if anybody does, if I do forget about it, somebody please remind me about it, because it's something that really we need to keep on top of. Because these ballers have got all the beliefs and all the ideas, but they've got no proof. So it's one of the proofs that's outstanding, and we need to reel these back in, because if they can't prove it, then they should admit that there is no evidence for their claim. But until they admit that, then they need to be reminded that that's outstanding. So we've got Paul Voigt on the perpetual elements to molten iron. We have the Rumpus. The Rumpus said, maybe 3 weeks ago now, that once I released the footage of the floaty land of the Isle of Man, he would simultaneously release his hangout. And it's been 3 weeks, and there's still, as far as I know, there's not been a resultant hangout. The challenge was to go back to the beach at St. Bees. Maybe I should even put it on. I think I'll put it on, Nathan.
Yeah, why not? Just keep it concise. At least if someone watches this in isolation, they'll get to see exactly what we're talking about. Don't need to explain what I was requesting from Charles. Just proof of R, the R value used in the mathematical equations for Earth radius. That is all.
Yeah. There's the presupposition that light travels over 7/6 of the radius of the Earth as well. That's another presupposition. As far as I can see, light travels in straight lines. It deviates from straight minusculely. It's practically a vacuum. And I say that with emphasis. It's practically a vacuum, our environment. We don't have this density with the scale effect that you guys portray. It's nowhere near what you guys portray. It's essentially a vacuum. But we're waiting for the response from the Rumpus with regards to this particular video, which I'm now getting up. Bear with me. I need mute. It's too loud. Now I need to share screens. That one. And then, you ready, Nath?
Yeah, I'm ready when you are. So
basically, this was a challenge that was made by people like, but not limited to, Mark Taylor, not the Rumpus, Sly Sparkane, and the challenge was to go back to the beach at St. Bees and get Isle of Man, particularly the floaty land part of it, the hills at Bride, if you will. The Rumpus made two predictions that we didn't ask him to make. One was that there would be no inferior mirage, and there is clear evidence of an inferior mirage. And the second one was that it would be compressed. Now, the only explanation for it to be compressed would be we live on a flat plane, because it's the effect of convergence with the horizon. As you get further away, things get smaller because they get squashed, and that land has got to squash down because of the effects of convergence. So the challenge was to go back to St. Bees, capture the land at the land that we called, or that I called the floaty land, which turned out to be the hills at Bride. I went back, I did it, and I was laying on my belly on the beach. I wasn't prepared to get too much closer because ultimately the beach was wet, and I was getting wet as it was, lay on my belly. I've got a better way of doing it now, but nonetheless, I was laying on my belly on the beach, and I caught the land in question. Now, since then, the Rumpus has made a claim that he'll get back to me with the reasons for why we can see this. There should be a wall of 150 feet or something, about 6 miles away from us, of water that would obscure this because of the rules of perspective. Hey, and there's no bulge.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Okay.
And there should be a 700 feet drop, because drop's the value from the beach. And there should be a 700-foot drop behind the bulge, and obviously there's no bulge and there's no drop. We can see the land, and I'd like to know what the reason for that would be, because the only explanation is that the plane that we live on is flat. Now, there was lots of arguments over whether I was at 6 feet, 3 feet, 9 feet. Who cares? It's still 700 feet behind the curvature of the Earth. There's still supposed to be a wall of water between us and it, and there's no evidence whatsoever that is apparent. So the question then becomes, where's the answer? Where's Rumpus? Where's the maths? Where's this nonsense to explain this? Because this should not be seen, and it's outstanding from Rumpus's point of view. We also have Philip, whatever his name is, the physicist guy. He is also wading in this because he's been doing something. And basically, I'd like to know from the two of them what's going on, because we should not see the land that's present in the picture almost now. It's kind of... come on.
There is one other thing to add to that with Philip, because he originally modelled the Isle of Man observation from whatever it turned out to be, 110 feet at the absolute maximum. And when he modelled it, the thing he said he could not achieve was the actual inverted mirage, the lighthouse and Bride and much of everything on the left-hand side. In fact, the entire image having a fold line with the same exact stuff below as above. So in essence, an inferior mirage. But that was the only thing he was incapable of modelling. So we want to see exactly that. There are lots of mirage effects. If we are talking about light, how do they describe it? Refraction. Well, if there's refraction effects, you should be able to model them, including the actual demonstratable mirage.
Yeah, and let's remind people that the effects of the air that we live in, it's essentially a vacuum when it comes to the bending of light. It's so close to a vacuum, right? That makes it means that the amount of light, the amount of refraction that they can describe or account for is minuscule, but they need to account for 700 feet of curve. Right, they need to account for why it's bent over the hump and then come back down the other side. It's basically they've got to account for a lot, and there hasn't been a response. And I'm pretty certain that they want this to go away. Further, we have Ranty's observation at 18 miles of Barrow. 18 miles just happens to be the same distance that Pontchartrain stuff was done over. 18 miles on Pontchartrain shows the basketball he claims we live on, and Ranty's got it showing flat as a pancake to the point where you can see the beach. So what's going on with that one? So there's enough outstanding at the minute for these ballers to be kind of like hoping that we forget about them. And it's really, this is the drum that we need to be beating, because 18 miles on Ranty, basically, if we live in a flat part of the world, then that 18 miles of drop needs to be accounted for somewhere. There's going to have to be a 90-degree bend somewhere. Where is it? Why is Ranty seeing the beach from over 18 miles if Soundly is seeing it from the size of a basketball over the same distance?
Hello.
Hey, Chocolate. Good to have you.
What's up, guys?
I'm just going to play Ranty's footage. Hopefully it'll come in a little bit sharper. Terrible. It says it's in HD. Enough. Oh, there we go. Here we go.
Winston. Oh, I'll stick Arwin on mute while he's eating or whatever he's doing.
Hold on.
I'm back.
So why is it over 18 miles we're able to see the beach? If it's refracting bendy light again, why does it happen to just conform to it looking like it's flat? It seems a little bit coincidental that it always seems to look flat when they account for it with refraction, right? We saw with refraction soundly that light bends up as well as down. Why does it always go into this equilibrium that seems to be in the middle? What's the default position? Is the default position that we're on a ball, or is the default position that it's flat? Now, there is the odd occasion where, I mean, I've got it myself. It did appear to be curved. And I've spoke to Nathan both times, and he was like, so what? It looks like it might be curved on this one occasion. How many times have you been in it's not looked curved? And I agree. Put it into perspective, we're seeing that it's not curved. The default position appears to be flat. Yeah, there are times when light does appear to bend up a little bit, and the bottom of a boat might disappear periodically, but it's rare. It doesn't happen all the time. But the perception is because it happens once, the ballers claim that it happens all the time. It's not true. You guys think that the boats are dropping behind the curve, yet at 120,000 feet at high altitude balloon footage, we see no evidence of curvature. So you can't have it both ways. What's the default position? Is it flat or is it curved? Why is it that we're not getting this consistent result all the time?
So on screen now we've got Ranty's capture of Barrow Inverness. And it's about, as Anthony says, 18 miles to this clock tower. And he's essentially dipped underneath the refraction band. So instead of getting inferior mirages that are mirroring things like this clock down upon themselves with a fold line below whatever you see miraging, you have the complete opposite. So you have this clock miraging upwards because he's gone underneath the refraction band. So from about a foot or a foot and a half off the waterline, he's seeing 18 miles away. Perfectly flat.
So why don't we nickname this Ranty's failure in line with Aries' failure? In that Ranty failed to observe the curvature of the Earth that soundly told us was the same distance. We got the opposite result.
Ranty is my hero.
I think he's got to be given a fair amount of credit, to be honest, because even though he may have made some mistakes in the past with getting boats identified wrong and whatnot, who cares? This is the money shot, right? 18 miles, no curve, no bulge. Why? I've got it at 34 miles, no curve, no bulge. Why? We should be validating these experiments, these observations with the sphericity of the Earth. It's a geometric sphere, according to them. Might be a little bit chubby on the equator, but we're not on the equator. So, according to the science, we're at a point where it's relatively spherical. Yet we don't seem to be getting evidence of it, and we're certainly not supporting the soundly nonsense. Why is that? Is it that we've got special cameras, or is it that he's got special cameras? Well, Sandra's in the same area that Ranty's in, and I'm sure she'd be able to replicate it. We're not getting the evidence, guys. Things don't seem to be supporting that it's a sphere. Why is that? All these outstanding people at the minute with claims.
It's not a sphere. Because it's flat. That's why.
I don't like saying it's flat because I don't know. We don't know that it actually is flat because there's no
we do.
science for a flat
It's
Earth.
obvious.
We don't
We
have
do.
a scientist.
That's what you're seeing. Hey, Jose.
Yo, yo.
Good to have
Yo.
you.
Here.
You don't need a scientist. You just need to use the scientific method. Right?
Bloody obvious. That's what I would say. But there we go.
I'd say it's bloody obvious. And then we've got Tim Osman appearing with basically flat Earth proofs and passing them off as ball Earth proofs. And I'm like, that seems a little bit intellectually dishonest, Tim. He uses that phrase quite a lot, and that he's doing the exact thing that he challenges us on. I find that a little bit repulsive, Tim, to
I'm
be
going to
honest.
stick Mark's avatar up just for a second. So this is essentially the point that initially they laughed at, and now I completely agree with. You know, Mark's point was completely valid, which is that if you're looking at something along this axis, along the z-axis, and you are claiming that whatever is at this point, z minus, is obscured by a curve between you and it, you should be able to go along the x-axis and look along the exact same stretch and see said curve and be able to measure it.
Yeah.
Of course, they don't focus on that. They like to focus on one single axis and the obstruction that you see due to perspective and mirages and various other effects that they presumably know very, very well when they co-opted all of this information into convincing idiots that actual obstruction is sphericity of the Earth, which it isn't.
If you were to draw a straight line across a basketball and put it close to your eye so it becomes a z-axis, and then all you have to do is to spin the ball to that z-axis becoming an x-axis, and you see a curve. Nobody can support that position from the globe Earth side yet.
If it's curved, it's curved.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and besides, like even with our observations, what we've been doing, there seems to be. Hello, what's that?
It's all right.
Echo.
If you can't see the lower stories of a building over a distance of 30 miles, then is it curvature, or could there possibly be another explanation?
Yes, that was what I was going to talk about. That is, there seems to be a lot of optical variation in the observations. Like, well, the ballers seem to selectively pick out the pictures of the Earth where there seems to be a maximum distortion, causing the slant, which they misinterpret purposefully as curvature. But there are also just an equal amount of observations where it seems pretty flat or less curved, or there's just this obvious variation. But if you then knowing how optics work, that seems logical. But then if you would presume that it is a ball, then and there is this variation, then there should be some observations that go in the opposite direction that would make it really, really look like a ball. Also, in contrast to making it look slightly more flat. But there are none of these really obvious ball observations except when they use fisheye lenses. So that is another point about it.
I agree. Why is there no observations where it appears to look convexed?
Yep.
Yeah.
Why don't we see the curve, you mean? Where's the curvature?
Yeah, where the curve would be very
Yep.
obviously visible. There should be some film footage that shows this without using optical trickery through fisheye lenses.
If you think about it as well,
find it. It usually looks averagely flat, and there are some distortions that make it look a little bit more like it could have some kind of curve or a slant, or sometimes it just looks perfectly flat. If it's actually a physical globe, then those distortions should be going both ways. And there should be also moments where it looks extra like a ball, much more.
There should also be examples where it goes concaved as well, because the light should bend the opposite way. Things should be risen above the horizon, but it never seems to do that. It only ever comes up to the horizon and looks flat.
Well, maybe I've been pondering on that, and there may be some effects where that is actually the case. Because I've been thinking about it with the observations of the slant. I'm not 100% sure that it is just all bending downwards in the back. It could be that there's also a part of the ocean basically bending upwards, but that it's very hard to tell because it is already so much in the distance and the ocean is very uh, equal looking. It looks pretty flat, so it's very hard to tell if it is basically slanting slightly upwards. You won't see that very dim angle. While in contrast, when it's slanting away from you, then you get to see the cut off line, and that is much more obvious. So there may be optical effects in both directions that basically make it look slanted downwards, but there may also be a less apparent optical effect slanting it slightly upwards up until that point. That is what I've been thinking about.
Yeah, but what I was saying is there doesn't appear to be any evidence where it appears to be concaved, so that we're arguing about whether or not we're concaved. If it really were light bending the way they say, there would be occasions where the light seems to bend up, right?
Well, if it was physically concave,
No,
No, I think what he's saying
there
is
should be obvious, super clear day telescope-like views where you should be seeing entire swaths of land at the horizon, basically
above.
slanted
I think
upwards.
what he's trying to say, Arwen,
and
is
you never
that,
see that ever.
I think what he's trying to say, Arwen, is that
movies.
if you have light bending both ways and you are to accept 7/6 of the radius of Earth as anything meaningful, then you must also accept that it would also bend the other way. Now, I know the globe Earth argument to this, which is to say that it's not actually bending what we consider to be up on a flat plane when they say it's bending the other way. So when you see it in Soundly's footage with the little Tensus Bayou lights going up and down, well, to them that's just less or more around the curve as opposed to up and down, which is just double-speak nonsense, but that's how they account for it. Nevertheless, what Anthony's saying still holds true. If you're going to have the effects that you can see the lights going and bending, and you're not to take it as a negligible amount of refraction, then yeah, at some stage you would see the complete opposite, which is to say that you would see the Isle of Man floating up in the air, you know, like it's massively off the horizon, like we live on a concave Earth, just because of the effect that they describe working the other way around. But we never see that. Oh, have I lost half
I think
my
if
panel?
we really were on a globe, I don't even think we'd really be having this discussion because I think it would just be too obvious.
Yeah, no, that's what I said. There should be, if it
It
was
would
a
just-
globe, then there should be moments where it would be very, very obviously, even to the naked
Yeah.
eye, a globe.
yeah,
Yeah, ridiculously obvious. Like
Yeah,
come on,
exactly.
From 120,000 feet, like come on, it's just ridiculous.
it does
from
sound ridiculous when you
30,000.
put it like that. But that's if they're going to explain all these things with refraction bending light like 700 feet behind the curve, then you would expect it to go the other way as well, because where you're looking out one way, and then you got to be looking back. They've got to see it bend back, haven't they? So ultimately, it's like how far? What's the limits of refraction, right? How far can it go before it becomes ridiculous? And let's start with the starting position. Our air is almost a vacuum. It's very, very close to a vacuum from the point of the bending of light.
Got a comment. So I know a Globe believer is going to be afraid to present some possible evidence for the globe. Why? Because the evidence is a video or picture evidence, and they're going to be ripped a new a-hole. But I got a piece of evidence to show in behalf of the Globe believers. I posted a link in the Hangouts chat. It's from a series of 4 rocket launches. It's pre-2000 a NASA video, and the second, the third, and the fourth. The third is obviously a fisheye lens, big time. We go concave and convex, you know, the lens once the rocket go up. But these rockets, they got no cut, no cut, camera cut. It's straight up from takeoff until it go up, and it releases whatever part, and then it lands again. So the first one video, it still got me scratching my head. It looks legit, and once it go up, you can see the curvature of the Earth. So I'm just playing devil's advocate and saying this is the evidence of the curve on a video, on a link that I posted in Hangout. I cannot share because I'm on my cell phone and I don't know how to do it.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, but, you know, we had this at the end of yesterday's show. If you want to claim that, I'll just bring up some Godzilla footage and claim Godzilla's real.
Indeed, that's my point. I know that's why they're afraid to present this argument, and I don't buy it. That's why, you know, because a video can be manipulated easy. I can actually do it in manipulate a video on my phone with a simple app. So
Yeah.
I'm just presenting this in behalf of them. Don't be afraid if the guys want to make a claim. Just present it. You know, now you got to take the consequences.
Somebody sent me a video the other day to prove curvature with a camera on the side of a rocket. But you can always guarantee that somewhere in the video you're going to see a splice mark where it stops and restarts again. And that's the flaw in their argument.
Oh yeah, by the way, talking about rocket launches, did you guys see this? It seems like the privatized space rocket thing is migrating around. It seems to be a new model to conduct space-related affairs. Because China is now also launching private space rockets, apparently.
Right.
So yeah, I guess they're now trying to privatize the whole space flight thing.
You guys remember Stiggy? Panel member from about 2 months ago?
Yeah.
Very funny guy. I subscribed to him and he started putting out videos saying, who did it better? And then he'll have like the Americans, the Chinese, the Russians, and I think the Europeans all side by side with their rocket launches, just to show how terrible they all look when you compare them, how different they all look, and I don't know, just a good little jape. But yeah, Stiggy. Don't see
Did
much
you
of
notice?
these people on the
You know
panel
what?
anymore.
This is. I promise this is genuinely on topic. But did you notice it was the royal wedding today? Prince Harry got married to not Angela Merkel.
Angela Merkel.
Meghan Markle. Yeah, that one. Angela Merkel, the German lesbian woman from the PM. But anyway, did you notice how the skies didn't have any chemtrails in them whatsoever?
Yeah,
Really?
Ranty
So what's the correlation there, Albin?
The same.
Well,
they do.
Correlation is causation, right? Refraction can be calculated to mean, therefore, refraction is. I just find it odd that almost predictable that on the royal wedding there wouldn't be any on any like chemtrails and the weather's glorious.
It does not surprise me the least. I have been suspicious that governments or whoever's in charge of the chemtrail program do actually manage the timing very carefully.
The lizards go out into fresh air.
They can't spray their precious prints and.
Yeah.
No, but they choose their moments for clear days when they want people to go outside, when they don't want any discouragement for people to go outside,
so when the lizards go out into fresh air, we don't get any chemtrails.
Yeah, it seems to be the case. I mean, I put on a post on one of the Facebook groups that I'm on, and people all up and down the country were all reporting that there was no chemtrail activity in the sky up and down the country. Now, there was one guy in Belfast, and obviously Belfast is in Northern Ireland, and he said, oh no, chemtrails are everywhere over here. And I'm like, yeah, but there's no royals getting married in Belfast, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The videos are going to have green grass and blue skies.
I'm not far from Belfast, and I've not seen any chemtrails today.
But it seems to be in the Netherlands, there's like King's Day, it used to be Queen's Day, when everybody is going out on like a illegal black market thing, and everybody sells their junk. And for years now, it's always been a perfect clear day on these days specifically.
Yeah.
Even if the surrounding days, there's been chemtrailing all over the place. This year there was like a week of clear sky surrounding it.
Well, let me add.
But it's always been like that for a decade, as far as I can remember.
Let me add to that. I've noticed that FA Cup final day in England is always a bright sunny day. Always, never ever a rainy day. I've also noticed that the Grand National at Aintree, when they run the Grand National, the horse racing at Aintree, that's always a good day as well. Ladies' Day this year did rain, but Grand National Day was okay. And I'm like, why is it? It just seems to be that certain sporting events or certain public events tend to always have good weather. And it's like, is it too much of a coincidence to think that they might, all right, it is summer and we do get nice weather in summer, but we're still getting chemtrails to death and there was none today.
Yeah. No, I am convinced that they pretty much are managing the weather and they're just not sharing that they do it like that.
They
still want to leave it to coincidence.
They were managing the weather even before the actual chemtrails started.
Well, they had knowledge of it, at least. That is admitted.
Yeah, they
knew how to steer
all types of experiments.
Hold on a second, guys.
And all
Can I
that.
say hello to our new guest?
Yeah.
Hello, Belief is a Thief.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Hello.
Good to have you.
Hi guys. I'm gonna mute myself. Listen. Yeah.
No worries. Good to have you.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in the world are you from, dude?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I'm up your way actually. I'm outside. I'm near Jodrell Bank.
Oh, really?
Oxford way. So I've been looking at your stuff and Ranty's stuff.
So you must be Northwich, Middlewich, Nantwich, somewhere around there.
South of Northwich, just outside of Knutsford.
I did my motorcycle test in Northwich.
All
Are
right.
you red or blue?
Oh, I don't know. Don't follow football. Originally from Accrington, so I guess Accrington, Stanley, Blackburn.
Oh no.
Yeah, Accrington was right in the middle of Blackburn and Burnley, so we had the choice. But yeah, I've been looking at the stuff and that. I've been thinking of getting up to Hoylake myself with the camera at some point and be another person who's independently checking what you guys are doing.
Are you independent, or do you have a idea as to what you're looking for?
Just to make just enjoying the fun, you know.
It is fun. It is definitely fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the investigation. Trying not to pick a side, you know. Just enjoying the investigation, the thought about it.
You're still on the fence?
I'm still on the fence, but I would definitely say you know, if there was an actual war, I'd go on the flat Earth side.
Right.
In that, you know, the investigation of it seems to be good. I don't quite get why these guys try and debunk. You know, what
are you familiar with the Stockholm syndrome?
Yeah, I've seen that kind of thing.
The Stockholm syndrome is where if the education system is considered by the person that's holding the Stockholm syndrome to be the hijacker, if education has hijacked their belief system to the point where they no longer can repel against it because they trust the education system that much, to find out that it's actually a terrorist against them, they end up falling in love with it anyway. And that's the reason why they're so vitriolic against it, because they're all suffering with Stockholm syndrome. And if you put it in that context, it makes it seem blatantly obvious that these people don't want to let go to the notion that we don't live on a system that's got a spinning ball. There is no gravity. There is no curvature. I mean, listen, we live in a geometric sphere, apparently, right? Yeah, and that geometric sphere has got dimensions that we should be able to observe. We should be able to record, demonstrate, verify independently and collectively that there is curve, and we can't. We're doing it and we're not finding it. So how is it the case that people still hold on to the vitriolic nonsense against all the odds? It's like how much. One guy, I'll not say who, but he said it would take extraordinary flat Earth evidence for me to accept that the Earth wasn't a ball. And I'm like, there's loads of it. Why would you still? I mean, basically, his position is he says one thing but does the other.
Yeah, I mean, I don't quite get it. I mean, these guys spend a lot of time trying to debunk and stuff like that. And what they're going to do, you know, what they're going to say, go to work the next day and say, hey, guys, I've proved the Earth's a globe. I mean, so what? That's already known, isn't it? Mm-hmm. To me, it feels like there must be a little bit of doubt that they have, you know, and they're kind of like wanting to join in on the party, but the pride and that won't let them, you know, because it's much more fun to discover and question and ask, right?
Yeah, it certainly is.
That's the beauty.
I think that Anthony is right in his analysis about the Stockholm syndrome, but there is also another element involved for many of the more tenacious globers, and that is that they have a lot of self-worth invested in their knowledge of their education. So if the knowledge of the education seems to be false on purpose, then their entire world falls apart, basically.
The initial point and convergence.
Yeah. So their entire ego gets bruised pretty badly. It's not just that they're being that they have been conquered by a hostile world and they want to keep it seemingly positive. I think that's more applicable for the more youthful people that want to believe in the system. But I think that the tenacious Globers have their personal ego invested greatly in their knowledge.
Yeah, I can imagine like when they were a kid at university or something, you know, they'd be like the pride of the family or something, wouldn't they?
Yeah, exactly. In pride in the state, pride in the science community consensus.
To let go of that's going to be pretty tough, huh?
It is, especially if you invested so much, and if most of these people also have relied on that a lot. And this, again, don't want to be mean, but it's kind of the nerd syndrome. Is that a lot of these people that are really smart usually tend to be slightly less sociable. So then they, to replace that, they invest all of their energy, all of their time in perfecting their knowledge. So they've already invested so much, and then when that knowledge gets threatened in its integrity, it's so hard to then abandon it, because what are you left with?
Yeah.
You know, that is the feeling. It must be very despairing.
I mean, it's been precious 5 years or something, Flat Earth on YouTube, is it? I mean, I'm late to it, but I've been in the trenches a little bit, you know, with comments and stuff. Maybe just asking some simple questions. The reactions I've got back are, you know, I'm instantly putting this, you know, I'm instantly putting this category of dumb, Flat Earth, whatever, just for asking them maybe a simple question. So.
Yeah, absolutely. The minute you go against the narrative, even suggesting it might not be true.
We don't have a single image.
Fake PMRs.
I found a good question to ask somebody is, does the moon spin on an axis? And then they've got to think about that, and then they'll realize that they're a bit in too deep if they're going to challenge you on your position of what shape the Earth is.
It does spin on an axis, perfectly aligned to the Earth or the observer, and so does the sun. That is the weirdest part. But all of these heavenly bodies, all these disks, seems to be spinning clockwise, all of them.
Yeah, but my technique is to put it back onto them. Oh, you're one of those flat earthers, are you? I have a question for you. Does the moon spin on an axis? And they've got to start thinking about that. And then they realize, oh, maybe I shouldn't have challenged this guy. You've got to get them to start thinking, what is my position really? If they're going to mock me,
because most of the time you're gonna know their model better than they do.
Exactly, absolutely, and you've got to throw that back at them, and they have to start thinking, maybe I shouldn't have said this.
Well,
why is P Mars coming in here?
No, it's a fake P Mars. It's probably Chris. It's probably Chris taking a sock account in the form of P Mars.
Probably Tim
or Tim.
Can I? The new guy, Belief. If you click on my link in the thumbnail in the Hangout, if Arwin watches the back door and Nathan flicks me
onto the back door.
If Nathan flicks me onto screen share, I'll just remind our new guest what the position is with regards to Blackpool Tower. It seems like an age since I've done this, but you see my screen now, yeah?
You're muted. Belief, you're muted.
Yeah, you'll have to unmute yourself.
I should know this. I've watched enough shows to know that mutes happen and stuff like that. Right, I'm on it. Got you. Thanks.
Right, so let's just bring up my Google Earth. If you do go to Hoylake, this is where I did the observation from. This is obviously the peninsula known as Birkenhead area, or the Wirral. Find the RNLI building, which is the building with a big square patch of water outside of it. And if you go during the day, you'll see daytime refraction, and that will obscure your horizon and stuff. But if you go at sunset, when the sun's going down and it starts cooling down and settling, you'll see that it's the most clear. Bloody hell! Now I can see all the land.
Hey Dan, is that really you?
That land in the background there, it wasn't there previously. But anyway, point is, if you stand on this little corner here, which is where I was stood, you'll find a little blue telescope that you put 20 pence in or whatever, and you can see basically nothing. I put my tripod up there, and I looked out towards the Blackpool, and basically you've got to find the last two turbines on the right-hand side. And in between the last two turbines, you'll see two dots. zoom in on the P900, get right in on the dots, and you'll see the tower. Now you have to know where it is to be able to get it.
Nice one.
That's a really weird image. It looked almost like it was a clay village or something.
So this is what we were able to pick out. This is like quite far zoomed in, and when you zoom into the image, that's what you get. And you can see the love heart at the bottom of the tower, and this is one of the structures on the South Pier. But we were able to identify all the key features. We were able to see that this is
You're muted.
Muted, Sleeping Warrior.
So,
Nice. Yeah, cheers. I think it'd be good. That'd be my first, investigation. And if it backs up what you see, is this the one that the newspaper article was about, saying it was a very rare occurrence to see it?
No, that was Stephen Cheatley's observation of Blackpool Tower from Winter Hill.
Right. But this is similar distance and stuff, right?
Similar distance, yeah, but it's right on top of the water. But when I spoke to Mick West from the Metabunk website, that's what we're supposed to see from the distance. He was kind enough, thanks Mick, to give us what it should look like on a ball. And obviously that's the amount of curvature we're supposed to see. And obviously that's not what I got. And the question was, well, why? And his argument was refraction. And then from there, everybody argues refraction. But what I should have done at the time, and I didn't know, was that the effects of refraction are negligible. And I'm waiting for the maths to come back from the rumpus to explain this nonsense. And as it stands at the minute, there is no explanation.
How many miles is that, Anthony?
30 to 29.6, I think it was. 30, basically. 30 miles. Basically on the beach. I wasn't laying my belly on the beach on that occasion, but who cares? Not basically that it's so far out that it's unreal.
They would have treated you as a beached whale if you'd lay on your belly, yeah?
Yeah, we're free willy.
30 miles is brilliant, though. How can they argue with that?
30 miles. And even Mick West put it in his thing and showed us what it's supposed to look like. And, well, failed to validate up.
Yeah, choppy water too. North England. So we got that to contend with. I'm still seeing it.
Riley, you're muted again.
I think he's intentionally muted. Yeah, good productive show so far. Lots of flat earthy stuff, unlike yesterday's show. Mostly about chemtrails.
I was listening to something new I found yesterday. Probably not new to you guys. Iron Realm Media or something. They were
Iron Realm guys are great.
Vacuum, stuff
that
like
was an excellent show yesterday. They had Rob Durran on talking about gyroscopes. It was brilliant. Really good. I stayed up till 1 a.m. listening to that. It was great. One of their best shows.
You got me.
Iron Realm Media is good.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, I got a question. It started asking a question of like, how did they even know that it was a vacuum to begin with? To build stuff that would work in a vacuum. And so I did a bit of googling, and a lot of the questions that come up about that are very vague. It wasn't like, yes, it's because they sent this up to the sky and came back with this measurement or something. It was all based on theory and Greek and that sort of stuff. Another woolly kind of end of the world. I mean, we can test stuff works in water. That's fairly easy for us, isn't it? But how did they get up there to find out it was a vacuum? Just more mad flat of questions, huh?
Every day. Hey, Rugged.
Who's that?
How you doing?
Oh.
Good to have you. Thank you for joining. Get one more person. We get no more trolls. That'd be brilliant if someone can join as a placeholder from the chat. Don't
I
necessarily.
think we're on 9 now. We're not on full.
Say again? No, that's it now. Oh, no. There we go. So you're getting trolled.
Yeah, we need one more placeholder.
One more
Somebody in the
friendly.
chat join us.
Someone from the chat.
Oh, by the way, I've been having this ad, and I constantly, like every time I do something on YouTube, it popped up, and I just found it again. Can I present it? Have you seen it? Like it's called Masterclass, and it's like this astronaut talking stuff about about space travel and all that. Have you seen that? Can I present it?
Maybe. Just stick it on now and we'll happily play it.
All right.
the end of the trolling. Thank you for joining, other people.
You're more than welcome.
Fantastic.
Let's have a look at what you got.
So again,
going
we're
on.
back. Let me just remind everybody, we're still waiting for evidence from Paul Voigt. Still waiting for explanations from the Rumpus with maths and geometry. Still waiting for evidence from basically the ball camp. Why are we able to see 18 miles the same distance as Soundly and get it flat as a pancake? Why can we see 34 miles and see basically almost the beach?
You know, we're not getting any evidence of that.
No, they're not going to come back. They haven't got anything other than maths. And the minute they mention the maths, I'm going to shout at them and say, right, let's see what... Well, I'm not going to say what I'm going to do yet. I'll keep that until if it actually happens. But I'm waiting for the Rumpus. So if you're out there, Rumpus, let's see what you got, man. You've had 3 weeks or so. How long's it been, Nathan? Been about 3 weeks, right?
Something like that. Are you going to play this, Arwen?
Yeah, I was already playing it, but I can replay it. It's only 2 minute 20, and it's advertisement, so they shouldn't mind. Am I on?
Yeah.
All right.
Every system in spaceship and then boil it down to what I call to be able to solve your problems.
But what is exactly this is showing us? Arwen? Just got dead air at the moment, Arwen. Are you going to talk us through what we're supposed to be seeing?
Can you hear anything?
No, you don't get to share sounds in Google Hangouts.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. If you can tell us what's going on.
It's just a lot of like, oh, it's so exciting to be an astronaut, and this is like, these are the systems that you need to use, and you need to be very quick at calculation and mastering trigonometry and all that stuff. It's everything the ballers love.
Oh, is it a new ad on YouTube before the videos?
I think this
Sorry?
is the ad he was talking about.
Is that what it is? A new ad that popped before the video plays? Oh,
yeah, every time, like the last 3 days, every day, every time I click on some flat Earth video, this is what it starts out playing.
Thanks for watching the ad. Hopefully it was on one of my videos.
Yes. So it's
watch it all the way through.
SpaceX plan to fly you across the globe in 30 minutes. By
This stuff is popping up a lot, though.
Gwyn Shotwell. So
It's almost like they know there's a problem, so they need to hype it up a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. They need some enthusiasm back. They need some encouragement for the Globers that seem to be... They like need to distract with another dream, basically. Like give hope. That's basically it.
Yeah, I think this the ridiculous spaceman car in space nonsense was like phase 1, and they're gonna try like phase 2, like almost like a new moon landing to get everybody hyped.
Yeah, I want to see either Neil deGrasse Tyson or Brian Cox go in a vacuum chamber inside a spaceman suit, and let's see what happens. That's what we should rally for.
Right.
Stick him in one of those spacesuits and put him inside a vacuum chamber and let me turn the handle. Let's see what happens. In fact, is there any volunteers that adamantly believe in a vacuum in space, or whatever you want to, a micro vacuum, or whatever you want to call it? Is there anybody that really believes in that would want to volunteer for that? I don't think anybody would.
You'd kill them, Anthony.
Say again?
This.
I think you'd kill him.
No, that's supposed to be space, man.
Right.
I think he'd die as well. I think he'd die pretty much immediately. He'd lose all his oxygen straight away. The pressure differential basically cause him to expand and all that nonsense because it won't seal his suit. His suit is a textile fabric. How's that going to protect him against the vacuum of space? Not.
Mark.
It's magic fabric.
Whoa, Mark just turned on his cam and he actually is a 5-year-old girl.
I was going to say, I'm not going to put his camera on, but I think his daughter's just come and started fiddling with his computer and put his camera on.
Oh, it's Mark Taylor. Is that who it is?
No, Mark Doxey. Mark Doxey's daughter's playing with his computer while he stepped away. No, I
just
got a
wanted to take
camera on.
advantage
I
of
won't,
the
I won't
unfortunate
embarrass her.
situation that we find ourselves in.
There we go. He's cottoned on. I was going to say, it's quite interesting that it's the antithesis of what we got in the 90s. So I distinctly remember a Simpsons episode back when I still watched TV, and it had Bart fighting with Homer to get the remote batteries back into the remote because there was a NASA launch on, and they're like, oh God, it's so boring, change the channel, change the channel. So they were trying to make it out to be tedious and monotonous and boring so that people kind of ignored it almost. And now they're hyping it up, like with that advert that you just showed us. It's wow, rockets and maths and NASA and SpaceX, wow. You know, like Anthony says about the millennials trying to capture their imagination.
Yeah.
I think that's.
Did you guys ever see the commercial, the advertisement they had? I don't remember what it was for, but it was about, like, they kind of reenacted the what's the doctor's name that went into the stratosphere in the balloon? Like the first guy to go up.
Do you mean the guy in the
stratosphere?
I think it was the 50s where he lost his glove and he almost lost his hand in the process, or do you mean Felix Baumgartner?
No, not
man-
Felix
the
Baumgartner. I think it was Dr.
Picard.
Yes.
Picard, yeah. With the
So,
huge
like,
head.
Yeah. So he was like, I think the first guy to go into the stratosphere or something with like a balloon that he designed or something. And when he went up there, he described the Earth as he said it seemed a flat disc with an upturned edge. Right. So like just recently, I think a few months ago, they had a whole commercial based on that. Like the guy gets in the balloon, he goes up, and then it almost looks like he goes through, like, I guess the firmament, if you want to call it. Like it seems like he goes through water in space. Like they showed all of that in some commercial, and I can't remember what the hell the commercial
Wasn't
was
it a
for.
whiskey? I'm sure it was a whiskey ad. It's about a year ago, right?
Something like that. Yeah, it might have been whiskey or,
It was for Hennessy.
Hennessy. There you go.
There you go, Hennessy whiskey.
Which I don't know how the hell that relates, but I thought that was
what getting drunk's all about, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's all misdirection.
But it was funny how they like threw that story in there. Like, why would you make a commercial like that? And then you see the guy go through water, and it's like another world or something. Like, I don't know. I'm on my phone. I can't bring up the commercial, but
there's been a few. There's been a Pizza Hut, or I'm sure there's been a couple of Pizza Hut adverts in the States that have been promoting flat Earth with pizza.
With pizza.
Yeah, seriously. There's been a few. I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but I know there's more than just the Pizza Hut advert and the Hennessy advert. There's been several.
Do you reckon you could make, like, if you had a pizza joint, like, like a Domino's or whatever, maybe you could do like a pizza theme on flat Earth and like make money out of being telling people subtly through pizzas that it's not a sphere.
What,
must
you guys have Domino's over there?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
And Pizza Hut?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
They're double the price of all the independents, though. All that TV advertising's got to be paid for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you could try to basically get a fabrication process going in which you would make pizzas with toppings that are perfectly shaped, like the circles, the disc Earth model, basically.
Yeah, you could make meatballs that were like round, like spheres, instead of just chunks.
Now that's a lot easier. No, but I just mean like cut out the cheese or the salami or whatever you're going to use exactly like the continents,
where you
and
could
drape it around the pizza in an automated process, and then you got your.
You could do it in your pizza box. You could get all your advertising on your pizza boxes, and instead of putting like "enjoy your pizza" or stuff like that, you should put like a flat Earth, some flat Earth pizza reference on it in some way, and then that would be really cool.
On the bottom of it, right? So when they eat the pizza, that's what pops up.
No. On the inside, on the lid, on the inside of the lid, when you open it up, that almost like you're looking right straight at a radar.
I think that's just a great
Yeah,
name
that
for an
would too.
independent pizza joint, Flat Earth Pizza.
Say again.
Want to make a good amount of money? Make some Halloween masks of like Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse and Brian Cox, etc.
I think they already have their own Halloween masks by now.
Yeah, but in like a flattered, little little shop.
Well, I would like to have like a how do you say? You had these puppets, that have a weight in it, so they whatever you do with them, they always stand up. I'd like a pear-shaped puppet with a print of Neil deGrasse Tyson like that.
Here's a question for you, right?
That you
Your
push
average-
him over and he always goes straight up.
I'm not trying to offend
pear-shaped
Christians
Neil
with
deGrasse
this.
Tyson.
Hold on, Owen. I'm not trying to offend Christians by saying this, but I would say that the vast majority of people in this country that I live currently accept that Christianity is a religious belief and therefore, not scientifically proven or anything like that. It's about faith, and that's it. And given that most people would accept that, and we still have these relics, the churches, in existence and attended, do you foresee that perhaps in 100, 200, whatever years' time, we will also have a church of heliocentricity? A throwback to this time when people
The
used
Church
to think...
of Science.
Maybe. Scientism, the Church of Science. Do you think, what I'm saying is, do you think that we will have this, in the same way as we have the church structure as a fallback for the current religious belief, which is heliocentricity, will we in 100 years have a throwback church to heliocentricity when everyone realizes?
I definitely think so, and I think that it will be basically like a storytelling. It won't really be a religion, much more like a storytelling guild. These science fiction people that make amazing make-believe movies, because that is really something that is worthwhile. I know Flat Earth. I still love the science fiction movies with outer space and the globes, and I love the CGI, and that's still worth being out there. And
Will
it's
they-
only
will
going to
it be
get
more
better.
overt,
The
though? Will
CGI
they
is only
say-
going to get better. So
Come
Yeah,
worship
with
the
Big
sun,
Bang.
and will it be more overt? Come and appreciate the wonders of nihilism at the heliocentric church.
no, it's not going to be like a religion. It's just going to be a guild that can produce science fiction, that can produce great storytelling with visuals and everything, with a very old lore. And then look, you want to hear the history? Yeah, 100 years ago, we were so convincing, and we just got into CGI, and people actually believed that this was real.
I can definitely picture what Nathan is talking about. And then you see the intelligent man with the suits in the front, next to the big scientist, aka preacher, and then they got these science books.
While all the real people are living their life on flat Earth outside, and these guys are still worshiping their ball.
And the Big Bang God.
Oh my god.
Can't we come up with some heliocentric hymns for them, just to start them off? Get them on the right path.
Gotta have one called The Body of Science.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
It
Nathan,
does
are we
seem-
doing
Science.
are we doing a 10-minute break today, or are we
Body
going
of
straight through?
science. Yeah, we're going to have a break in a couple of minutes.
It does seem like a lot of this globe came about to destroy, Christ and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
It
Religion's
came
the
to
antichrist
replace-
for them.
It was a replacement for the old religion.
And they
Exactly.
keep going back and back and back, and we're asking, or people are asking, well, what made that? And then they keep going back and back, and it's like still going to end up with that question of what started that. It's fascinating.
You know what I find crazy is that, some people are so vehement about how Jesus is our savior and all that. And I understand that, and I don't knock anybody's faith about whatever they want to believe in. But it's like when I would ask them about what about all the stories that came before the Jesus story that have so many similarities to it, that I mean it's beyond ridiculous how connected all those stories are, and they're all the same thing. They all revolve around the sun, the same time of the year.
No. That is just the Gnostic interpretation that comes with it. It's various stories all grafted into one. And the archetype of Christ, it did indeed in other religions also arise. And it is all pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, it's all a parody of the.
No, but that's what I'm.
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully for sharing this debate. If you dislike this video, you know what to do, but if you like the video, be sure to stick a like on it, share it, and subscribe if you've not done so already. Also, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!